Good afternoon, everybody. It is December 12th, 2024, and this is a meeting of the Minnesota Geospatial Advisory Council's Emergency Preparedness Committee. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join us. I think the presentation is something worthwhile. When Bob comes up here in 30 or 35 minutes or so, I think you'll really enjoy it. So meeting housekeeping, roll call, I've already got it recorded. Meet and greet doesn't work online. The recording is in fact on, and as the esteemed chair of this event, I'm calling the meeting to order. Takes us down to approval of agenda. Are there any changes, deletions, alterations proposed from the floor to the agenda? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, our last minutes are posted as video recordings online. You've all had an opportunity over the last 3 months to review them. Are there any objections to what was recorded and available online? Hearing no objections, I will call for a motion from the floor to approve the minutes as posted. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so since we're online, now we have to do it the other way around. We say, is there anyone opposed? Going once, going twice, gone. Therefore, the minutes as published are approved. Thank you very much. Takes down updates, issues, and good efforts. Updates, don't do this. It's a bad idea. Minnesota GIS LES conference, we had 3 presentations up there. I was very impressed with GIS LES this year. It's been a number of years since I've been up there, but nice crowd, well sequenced event as it has been in the past, but it just felt to me like it was really a good one this year. And we also had a booth, and what I mean by that is on behalf of the EPC, we did a U.S. National Grid booth, paid for by Share Geo. And so a big thank you to all of you that stopped on by the booth. Also, Monday and Tuesday of this week, myself and Mike Sovereign ventured north. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit. And we engaged with the Minnesota Sheriff's Association at their conference up at the Arrowhead Lodge in Alexandria. It was a well run event, well attended. It's leaps and bounds above what it used to be. And it was quite an eye opener for me to see the quality of the vendors that were there and the number of vendors that were there. So, people, moving on to that. This guy continues to pile up the awards. And so I'm sure he has a big head given the fact now he's moved on to receiving from the Metro GIS Coordinating Committee. Mr. Knippel has now been awarded the Benchmark Award. But before he gets too far along in his thinking that he's the best thing since sliced bread, the reality is he's fired. He's been fired, gone, he's toast. Been replaced now by Britta Maddox. She'll be serving as the new vice chair. So hat off to Britta, and see you later, Randy. Randy, however, is going to continue to be engaged running the USNG effort. So lots of fun. Gopher State One call, 811 folks. New Chief Operations Officer becomes official in totality at the end of this month. Barb Cedarberg, who helped, or I should say, facilitated, imagined, prompted the effort that got underway that has led to the presentation you'll see today. She's going to fully retire at the end of the month here. She's been kind of hanging on after she passed the reins to Kelly on the 24th of July, and Barb is just focused on the underground utility thing. Kelly has now been well positioned to take over in that position. And if you're not aware of it, their backgrounds, Barb actually was a chemical scientist that worked for 3M, and then Glenn Taylor hired her away for to run a number of his companies for a period of time. So she was, a very meticulously focused individual, and I think we'll see the same with Kelly. Her background is largely marketing, which kind of comes at a very fortuitous time in the development of the Fusion View product that Gopher State One Call is now in the process of implementing. Landslides. You probably didn't realize this, but check out this statistic. In the past 10 years, landslides have killed more Minnesotans than tornadoes. So, oddly enough, what's going on is on December 17th, myself, Allison Slatz, and uh, also Eric Waggy and Carrie Jennings, we're going to meet to have a discussion about the potential of what can be done to support an effort that Eric and Carrie have initiated. Carrie's with the DNR, and I think probably many of you are aware that Eric Waggy is the emergency manager for Hennepin County. And what they're looking at doing here is the USGS put out a request for proposals, and they're in the process of submitting it. And the idea of what they're up to comes down to providing a way going forward that there can be a response group available for landslides, and both from the standpoint of recovery of individuals, but also in providing the scientific and documentation of the landslide site. So kind of as a background, Carrie, I don't know, probably 5 or 7 years ago, somewhere in that range, came and talked to the EPC about the landslide project at the DNR. And one of the takeaways in that event for me that I have always carried forward was the thought that we don't live literally on solid ground here in the Minnesota, for a large part of Minnesota. The underlying, what you'd call hard terrain, is 3, 4, maybe even greater number of hundreds of feet underneath us because of the washout from the glaciers as they retreated, 12,000 years ago. So that's why we see these landslides that are occurring in Minnesota, and hopefully through this project, we'll be able to see something come of getting a ability to react to that. So, any other updates out there that anybody would like to toss out? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, issues. You heard me blab about this last time. I'm just going to reinforce it. Allison Slatz is in the process of getting ready to roll out a project team, a working group, whatever you'd like to call it, that's going to focus on trying to figure out a process by which statewide data sets will receive an official state endorsement, and then on either side of that process, right here in the middle, there will be both an effort to try to create a flow of data sets that can be sanctioned by this group. And then on the other end of the equation, another work group of the MGAC is working on trying to figure out how to effectively make those data sets available and visible. We're really looking forward to that project getting going. And as I understand it, Allison is positioned to start cranking along this in 2025. And to the degree that it's of interest to you, I would ask you to seriously think about if you would like to be involved in this process. There's Allison's email. Just shoot her an email and let her know, hey, this is something that would be of interest to me. Okay, here's where I start spitting blood. So bear with me. The state of Minnesota has just renewed a contract with the company to remain unnamed because I've been promised that I'll have a meeting with the vice president of their development team to talk through the display of data within their system. And the deal here is that um, if you look at what they're spilling for location in their system, and this system, the way it works is it takes the location exactly off your phone, rather than doing triangulation, or I should say, it allows for the upload of the phone's location into their system. And then from there, they do some processing to show what the location looks like in terms of various types of readout. You can see here it says show all. I'm sorry, this is not a very good slide, but it's the best I could find online. And it pops open, and you'll have a number of ways to describe location. So I've blown this up a little bit to give you an idea, and this is for responders. So what three words? I'm not even going to go there. In Google, plus codes, I'm not even going to go there either. And that neither is sanctioned in the emergency response world in any way, shape, or form. Then we wander into what the display shows for latitude, longitude. Anybody see a problem with that latitude, longitude? The basic idea here is this is the machine to machine talking, and this is in the emergency response world, not in the GIS world. This is completely useless information. All you're doing is setting things up to make it go bad. Then we wander on down to degrees, minutes, seconds. Anybody know what's wrong with that? Well, oh, that's for aviation. No, that doesn't work for aviation. And the reason it doesn't work for aviation is in the aviation world, you load coordinates into something called an inertial navigation system or an inertial measurement unit. And what you get out of it is the entry that is degrees, minutes, decimal minutes, like 0.95 at the end. This has gone away in the aviation world by and large for navigation while in flight. Then we wander on down to what they thought MGRS was. Well, if they had bothered to read the standard on MGRS or military grid reference system, they would know that MGRS as a coordinate is all run together. It is never more than 5 digits in showing for either the easting or the northing, and the result of this is a bunch of garbage. So I won't lament the fact that this is currently available universally in the state of Minnesota through a contract that was just refreshed. So hopefully I can have a little chat with the vice president to let him know that maybe instead of just letting programmers run wild and do whatever they thought was right, that maybe they ought to open up some directives and find out what the response world needs to be able to see to do their job. And here it is right out of the reference that is published by the National Search and Rescue Committee, which is 7 federal agencies. And right there, what I was talking about with, what you need to do for aviation, there it is, degrees, minutes, decimal minutes. And then we wander on down to this reality. They just bothered to blow off 13 different national standards in publishing this thing. And so if it sounds like I'm a little hot under the collar, you'd be right. And just for kind of an interest point for everybody that's on the call, this document right here, this Department of Defense document, which is signed off by the Department of Transportation, they're all co-signers on this in the Department of Homeland Security, says if you spend a dime on anything for a navigation piece of equipment in aviation assets that came from the federal government, thou shall make sure that equipment has the ability to read U.S. national grid. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but you can tell I'm After I saw that, I got more and more and more upset after thinking about it. Okay, and the result of, if you will, this kind of nonsense going on, what that actually ends up being is this: lost on the way to response. All these different incidents where the transmission of information between the 911 center and the responder ends up with people dying, responses ending up in the wrong places, houses burning down, and the rest of it. We have to deliver the message to the emergency response community that if you're buying equipment, you need to make sure that it's supposed to work as advertised, or otherwise, you're just dealing with a bunch of nonsense that's going to get you set up for trouble. Okay, let's move on to good efforts. Now that I've cooled off a little bit. So, hey, if you can find a good nose to eat, go for it. All right, here we are. I'm going to do some chest beating here because from Mike Sovereign and myself went to this Minnesota Sheriff's Association conference on Monday and Tuesday of this week, and we got really good engagement. Here's myself talking to a sheriff about how you can create a very effective ride-along book using the U.S. National Grid. Got a chance to connect with Don Vance, who is the emergency services director now for the Civil Air Patrol. We also had a chance to chat with Jim Stewart, who is the executive director of the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, and he's agreed to start posting some informational items in their publications to try to help the sheriffs have a better understanding of what all this GIS stuff is and how to effectively use it. So I felt that that was a real good development for us. And then, as you can see, poor Mike scribbling notes, trying to, as I'm doing a data dump on him about stuff we can fix, stuff we can make better. We had some good conversations going back and forth and came up with some great ideas, and I look forward to implementing them. Okay, what did I forget? Are there any other victories or defeats out there? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, here we go. We're done project team reports. I'll blab through them. As I indicated, leadership team functionality. Vice Chair is Britta Maddox now. Randy is down here, the chair of the U.S. National Grid effort. And then you can see the rest of the team as it sits there. And we've been very fortunate. The MGAC staff has really stepped up and done their best to participate as an ex officio kind of input to our efforts. So a special thanks to Megan, Sally, and Allison for engaging at that level. Really appreciate it. Our next meeting, if you want to come and sit in on what the leadership team's all about, March 25th, pencil it in. Just shoot me an email and you can come play. The critical emphasis, our project team reports with Stacy Stark and Matt Goodman, they're both online. I'll just shoot this thought, and then if they want to chime in with something else, we can go forward from there. Our priority during 2024 was to try to get the concepts of what this team could do better refined. And as I mentioned earlier with the discussion about Allison, that it was a shakeout kind of across figuring out structurally how we would do things going forward. And I'm pretty certain that Stacy and Matt will charge into 2025 with some great efforts going forward. The other two that were already stood up, and I'll talk about this in a minute, was the underground utilities and the U.S. National Grid materials. And so structurally going forward, as we sit right now, the plan is going to be that Stacy and I are working on basically merging these kind of two initiatives together. The underground utilities thing, that thing's running nonstop. There's nothing going to get in the way of that thing. U.S. National Grid, yeah, knock on wood on that last comment. U.S. National Grid, but then what we're going to do is we're going to put focus on this geospatial assistance project team going forward. That will be our point of attack, if you will, during 2025. Talk a little bit more about that when we get to it. And Stacy has a meeting that she plans to announce sometime in mid January, and I'll shut up for a minute or two. And Stacy, do you have anything else you want to add?
Actually, I don't really have anything to add, but thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, please join us. I will send a message out to whoever's in the group, and if you let me know if you want to join this team, critical infrastructure team.
Thank you very much, Stacy. As I said, both Stacy and Matt have worked really hard this year, and it's been a pleasure to see the way that project has moved forward. It takes done underground utilities mapping. As I indicated earlier, Kelly assumes the position of chair. There's her email if you want to harass her or whatever the case might be.
MGAC
And
meeting.
I'm the admin guy carrying the thing forward. Um, just to give you a sense of perspective of this project, the discussions about its starting up actually began in 2018 and 2019. Discussions between myself, Dean Parker, who's a lawyer for Gopher State One Call, and Barb. And what I'm trying to show you here is the length of time it's taken us, and the discussion that Bob will bring forward here. You know, I don't want you to snapshot into the idea that it just popped out of a box somewhere, because this is the reality of what it's taken to get to what Bob will be talking about. And we originally visioned kind of in our 4-year plan for this project, what we were thinking what would happen is we would, through research and engagement, come up with a best practices concept to move forward. Well, and the reality is, we got to the point where we figured out, well, the answer is we need to build something to show the world. So that's where that one it has been. And going forward conceptually, again, just so you have a sense of, we never saw this project as flipping a light switch. And the guys that sit in on the underground utilities project are tired of me using this analogy, but we never saw it as an issue of flipping a light switch. We saw it as an issue of growing a tree. And the reality being, well, we're finally here, 2025, the Fusion View thing that Bob will talk about. We're getting ready through funding that came in from PHMSA to start another a project about creating data sets that relate to abandoned and unknown infrastructure. And there's some other kind of nuanceical stuff in there. The requirements document, as it sits right now, has 79 different elements that need to be fixed. And ultimately, through this kind of process that we're talking about that's ongoing right now, we're seeing things headed towards the reality of augmented reality in the cab of excavators and in other different ways. And that seems reasonable for us to get there about 2030. And then last but not least on there was the Holy Grail. I'm showing that there is the digital twin, and that's where we get to the point where you've got 3D data just accurately available for visualization everywhere. So pie in the sky, but it's the old saying, a trip of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So we've made the first steps over the last 8 years or so, and we're kind of reached a midpoint, and that's where we are right here. So that project will continue ongoing in some other form or fashion. Next 6 months, you were looking at what's going to take place. Fusion View was validated as being at beta by One Call Concepts, and One Call Concepts provides the answering function of 811 for Gopher State One Call. Shared Geo and One Call Concepts have already in the process of moving pieces around to the point where the release candidate will be positioned at Gopher State One Call. So this stuff is, this one's been completed, this one's ongoing. Then we got to start up the field markup. Design plan is going to be complete, and field markup was going to begin development. PHMSA, which is the Pipeline Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, has asked for interviews of the team during the week of January 13th. It's my understanding their vision is to do like a 2 to 3 minute video promotion at the upcoming CGA conference in Orlando in April. And then Fusion View technical outreach support documents and all this stuff's going to be completed. And then it just kind of gives you the rundown of the rest of it. So the kind of key points here is that we're thinking by March 31st, we're going to reach what you would call initial operating capability, and that will exist at one call concepts. And then by July 1st, the Fusion View open source release will be completed to the point where some of the stuff that OCC didn't needed would need will be incorporated, and a full package will be available for release by the start of the seventh month of the year. So that's kind of the schedule that is envisioned as it sits right now. And if you're interested in sitting in on one of these discussions, the next large group meeting is going to take place on March 27th, 2025, 1 p.m. And again, you can always find this stuff on the calendar of the EPC. Response, geospatial assistance. Brian Huberty doesn't know this yet, but when I was up at the sheriff's conference, I was able to recruit Don Vance from the CPA. We're right now, as I indicated, looking at this as being the EPC's priority project for 2025. We're looking to try to create a Minnesota version of geospatial preparedness. What the heck is that? It's the ability for anybody, whether it is a emergency manager, emergency responder, geospatial technician, whatever, to be able to answer this very basic question beyond my local resources, what geospatial support is available during a disaster, or for that matter, even emergency. And for instance, what sort of things will be in there? Well, I'll bet you that no one on this call, except if they're here from Civil Air Patrol, knows that the state Civil Air Patrol wing just received its its replacement, its new infrared capable aircraft. And from what Don described, it sounds like a substantial platform that be great to have in your back pocket if you were to know about it. And so that's the idea. What we're going to be doing here is trying to document from the Minnesota level all the way up to the feds how you get it, everything from CAP to satellite support. Um, and to be announced, I'll be coordinating with Brian. We'll get something up and running. Hopefully, we can do it by mid-January. But right about now, Brian's going to tell me he's going to be in Florida for 5 months, so forget that. But that's the idea there. U.S. National Grid Institute, that is the spinoff of what started here as our U.S. National Grid project team. And as I briefed before, this has evolved into a national thing. And once again, the reason we're beating the drum on this, here's another article for you. This one from Milwaukee, 19th, 2023. Lo and behold, we've got an address mix up, the reason for delayed paramedic response to a shooting. And so that story continues to go on and on. And help us spread the word. If you're not aware of it, there is, in fact, a self-standing website, usngi.org. But more importantly, I'm going to get down on my hands and knees and I'm going to beg. You might even be able to get me to cry. But here's the deal. We've decided, after we've looked at our social media effort and the poor response to Facebook and adding subscribers to the YouTube channel, that we wanted to focus our efforts on LinkedIn. So since we met last time, we've come up by 60 followers, and that's not enough. I need more. I need lots more. And so I would ask you that if you have a LinkedIn account, I would really appreciate it if you would come on to the U.S. National Grid Institute website, or I should say LinkedIn page, and just click the follow. And what ends up happening is it'll end up as if we post something, I think there might or might not, nope, there isn't. If we post something, it will end up in your message flow. And you can either choose a message flow on LinkedIn, and you can choose whether or not to go look at it or not look at it. But by helping me build the number of followers, it will help build our algorithm desirability. And I want to get above 200 by the end of January so that when we start pumping some kind of significant stuff out of the Institute next year, that we've got a base level group that can offer into the algorithm the idea that maybe we should publish this a little bit wider. So that's what we're trying to achieve. If you can, please help us out. Okay, next meeting, January 29th, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, USNG Implementation Working Group. And I think that takes us down to old business or new business. Or I should stop and shut up for a minute. Are there any of the chairs that are on the call that would like to add something to the comments that I've offered about your team? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, old business, new business. Is there any old business to bring before the committee? Going once, going twice, gone. Is there any new business to bring before the committee? He's out of control. Stop him. Okay, going once, going twice, gone. Takes us down to this. Comments. As you probably can tell by the way I've rambled through this thing, the vast majority, 99% of the work gets done in these project teams. And we look at this admin meeting as just kind of a point in time to try to bring everybody back up to speed as to what's going on in each of the project teams or what's going on around us. So I thank you for for hanging in there with us on this. And unless there are some other comments, I will move on to the last item of business. Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, this takes us down to the volunteer of the quarter. Who is it? It's this guy. Volunteer of the quarter, Jim Klassen, developer of usngapp.org. So Jim has been with us for a long time and is one of those guys that is not like real obvious to everybody, but he has done some phenomenal work over the years. And I believe he's well deserving of this, as you'll probably see when I show you what we want to call a citation. So here it is. Jim Klassen has been a member of the EPC since 2008. During that time, he has contributed significantly to the EPC's efforts by donating his substantial programming skills to efforts which have improved the delivery of IT services of the committee. Paramount among these efforts was his creation of usngapp.org, a free app which provides any mobile user the ability to quickly and efficiently identify their location within, that should say, 33 feet accuracy within a PSAP's area of responsibility. Jim, don't argue. I'm well aware that that's not totally accurate. I get it. But for the purposes of this, that's what we want to say. This app, which is now also being used in locations outside of Minnesota, has been credited with at least 2 instances of being pivotal in facilitating responses in life and death situations. A truly exemplary member of Minnesota's GIS community, Jim is the EPC's Volunteer of the Quarter for fourth quarter of 2004. I can only officially point to 2 instances. I'm well aware of chatter all around on this app of it being far, far more than that. So think about that. How many committees on the MGAC can talk about actually having saved lives? And here's a prime reason why. because of the volunteer work of Jim. So, Jim, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. And a round of applause, if you will. Okay, with that, takes us down to the last item, the next EPC meeting, Thursday. Oh, now, no, please don't do this to me. Why they put that little edit thing down there in the corner right over to the advancement, I don't know. But anyway, originally the EPC leadership team met and we chatted through moving. I originally was voting for the 3rd. We moved it to the 10th, and then I found out later that the 10th sits right over the top of the CGA event down in Orlando. I don't know for sure if I'm going, but I need to try to keep that date clear. So, Matt, I know that's impactful on you. Will April 3rd work for the rest of the chairs? Stacy will work for you. I think it will. It did, as I remember it.
April 3rd and April 10th both work.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Brian, are you good on the 3rd?
Either one.
Okay. Randy, are you on the call? Not here. Look at that. He's already dropped the pack. Um, are there any other chairs that are on the call? Matt, I apologize to you. I got to move it to the 3rd.
Totally fine with me.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so there it is, folks. It'll be the 3rd. Be online. Topic to be determined, and Bob's going to be mad at me because I ran long. So, do I have a motion from the floor to adjourn?
So moved. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Matt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now the question is there anyone opposed that would like to hear me yap longer? Okay, with that hearing no one opposed, the meeting is adjourned, and now you're going to get some good stuff. Here we go. Bob, I apologize on running along.
I can wing it. I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay. All right. So you ready to grab it? So we actually wandered into the extended. I don't know, am I sharing yet? Yeah. We actually wandered into the extended period here, and that's a good thing. Good discussion. So we are going to call ourselves all official EPC functions concluded. By virtue of the fact I've got Santa's hat on, I'm going to tell you about the holiday party. And for those weak people down in Dakota County that can't drive all the way up to Joseph's, too bad for you, because drinks, snacks, door prizes, and of course, there'll be some laughs. If you're not familiar with it, Joseph's is what it looks like from the outside. We're going to be back here in the corner, kind of like where we always sequester. Holiday party. Uh, please come on. Open to all. Starting at 4:30. I'm going to jump in my car with the bag of treats and drive to Joseph's. If you can make it over, great. If you can't, oh well, too bad. If you're not familiar with it, Joseph's is a downtown St. Paul area across the river, so you get out of the traffic pattern. You can come in on 52, pop off on Plato, and away you go. Or you can take Wabasha, or I think this is Roberts. So that's how you can get to it if you're interested in showing up. And closing thought, here it is for 2000.
Wabasha might be closed.
What's that? Is it
Robert,
closed? Okay.
Wabasha might be.
Okay.
Robert DePlato's probably the best bet.
Okay. All right. Here it is. Final thought for you. Don't wait for your ship to come in. Swim out to it. So I guess we got some. There we go. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Any last minute comments, threats, whatever? Going once, going twice. All right. Have a great holiday. Take care. Bye bye.